Hello everybody and welcome to the show. This is Andy Shed Live, Series 15, Episode number 4 for Sunday the 11th of February 2024. Hello there everybody, welcome aboard. We are here with you once again. It is another Sunday evening and we are here. Been down a bit of a rabbit warren this week or something, but I'll be telling you more about that in a few minutes time. Firstly though, time to do a little bit of housekeeping and things. Remember, if you are watching us on YouTube and you're wondering where this chat is that you can see scrolling on the side of the screen here, it's because that is the Odyssey chat. If you want to find that chat, you need to go to us on andyshed.coldpress.net, which is here, and then click on the thing that says live, and then you'll find a link to the chat. So andyshed.coldpress.net/live actually, and then you will find a link to the chat there, and you can also watch the show there as well, streaming through Odyssey rather than watching it on YouTube with all YouTube's adverts and nonsense that they have these days. Right, well, talking of the chat, let's see who is there. Looks like one or two people on here. Dominic's here, Christopher's here, Wesley's here, Miguel is here. Yeah, various other people I bet are here too. Oh, Gambo is here. But if you've not found the chat, then find us on Odyssey, odyssey.com. Odyssey spelled ODYSEE.com. That's ODYSEE.com, and you'll find us on there, and we are in the chat on there. Dominic says he's testing telephones. Wesley says there's an interesting lot on eBay recently. He's put an item number in. Stick a link in, Wesley. Stick a link into the eBay thing, because I can't find it on the item number. I can find it on the link. Dominic says his phone's working quite well on BT VoIP. He said now it seems to have sorted itself out. Oh, on the BT VoIP, not on Virgin, on BT. What have you? How have you got it working on BT? Have you put one of those pulse and tone converter things in it, Dominic? Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. Wesley says, you've never seen a plan set wall phone before. I think they did exist. I think they were a thing. Boom, boom, boom. Miguel says, my comments got lost. Evening all, evening Miguel. Christopher says he's not bought any phones this week. Gambo says, hi all, made it this week. Didn't realise Andy was on and was back home in plenty of time to watch the show. He says, I'm sorry I've not been on the forum for a wee while. Yes, alright Gambo, neither have I. It's been that busy. Chris says, Andy, did you get my email? I probably have, Christopher, but I've just not checked them today. It's been crazy. Yeah. Where it says you can do an eBay search using the item number. Yeah, but it's a pain. If you put a link in, I can just click the link. Alright, let's do the item number then. So it says, I can't actually, because I can't lift the item. I can't. Oh, I can. Hang on. Copy. Right. Well, I'm going to have a look at that thing then. That plan set. No exact matches found on ebay.co.uk for that number that you put in. No, it's not coming up for me, that's not. Don't know what's happened there. But it's not coming up for me on eBay, that's not right. So yeah. Right, that all went swimmingly, didn't it? Yeah, it's not coming up, guys. That number, it ain't working on ebay.co.uk, that. At least I don't think it's working. Let's try it one more time. Copy the number 2856. Put it into the search bar. No exact matches found, it says. Right. Oh, he's put the eBay link into it. This listing sold on Sunday the 10th of February at 6:41 p.m. for £30, which was all of its money, I think that. Oh, I don't think that's right. I have seen these as plan sets before, but I don't think they were like that. Well, now, you see, there's an interesting thing. Because, if you think about it, you want to see what we're looking at. Let me show you what we're looking at for a start. That'd be good, wouldn't it? That. Right, this is what we're looking at. It is this plan set thing that was on eBay, and it has sold for £30. But whoever's bought it for £30 has paid over the odds, really. Is it one of you guys that's bought it? Because it's just an ordinary plan set. That's all it is. Because if you think about it, a plan set base, right, a 741 or a 711 base, the base of a war phone is exactly the same shape as the base of a desktop phone. I haven't got a wall phone here to show you, but basically the base is still that shape, yeah, and you just hang it on the wall. All they actually do to make a wall phone in general is knock 2 feet out, and then you hang it on the wall with the other 2 feet. That's basically all they do. Now, you can also have a wall phone, of course, by doing that with a desktop phone and turning it that way up, and then putting a special adapter across the hook switch there, so that fits on there like that, and that would fit on the wall as well, which London Transport did quite a lot, I believe, so I'm told. So the base is the same shape, whether it's a wall phone or a desktop phone. Right, let me put this down. Right. So, I lost a bit of plastic out of it. So the base is the same shape, whatever. So, what I'm saying is, all they've actually done here is they've put a wall phone on a plan set base, but turned the base through 180 degrees, and then they've turned the buttons around, because the buttons are straight outwards and the right way up. So they've somehow turned those buttons around, which you probably can. I mean, I haven't got a plan set here to have a look at it, but those buttons are turned around. But it's a weird plan set because it seems to have got a hinge on it. So you can unhinge it off the wall, but that looks like a hinge that somebody's made. That doesn't look like a GPO thing. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there with that, but you can see in that photo that it's an ordinary plan set. Imagine that with a desktop phone on it. So it is ordinary. It is an ordinary plan set that somebody has put this metal hinge on. That's a bit of a bodge, really, because it doesn't seem to lie flat or anything, does it? You know that. Well, I don't know. It's strange. But of course, there it all is in the base of the plan set. There's all the plan set gubbins in there. So yeah. So that's basically it. That's basically what I think it is. It's an ordinary plan set with a wall phone dropped on it. That is what you're looking at there. What do people say in the chat about it? That's the question. Right, let's have a little look. Yeah, so the button should be to the front on plan 4, I think. Yeah, not sure, Wesley. Oh, Miguel, sorry. I'm not sure, Miguel. I'm just looking at it and thinking. No, I think it's the right way round. Wesley says, but would a standard plan set have the hinged cover that this one does? No, it wouldn't, but the hinged cover looks like it's in addition to me, that, because it doesn't seem to, it's hard to tell from the photos, but it doesn't look like it fits very well, does it? Christopher says, the telephone I'm looking for now is GPO Green Mark 1 746L. Good luck with that in green. I don't know that I've got a green one. I've got a red one, I've got a black one, and I think I've got an ivory one. I'm not sure about a green one. I've got a Mark 1 green one, I think, but I'm not sure if I've got one with the alphanumeric bezel on it or not. I don't think I have. Wesley says, that's on my list too, Christopher. Dominic says, I'd love a Concord Blue 746L. Oh, have I got one in Concord Blue? Not sure. To be honest, it's very hard to remember what I have got. Miguel says that plan set, it could be a marriage. It could be, Miguel. It looks like it belongs together though. When you look at the paint splashes on it and that, the little white paint flecks and that, it looks like it's been together for an awfully long time. But I wonder if it was a GPO done thing. I think it was probably a privately done thing by somebody, maybe in a factory or something like that. It's the sort of thing that somebody like Ericsson or Telephone Rentals might cobble together. So yeah. Christopher says that the wall phone that you've shown, Andy, might come off a railway. They use a lot of black wall phones. Very true, Christopher. It might be something like that. It might come off the railway. It might be something to do with London Underground, because they had a lot of GPO cast-off stuff and these strange modifications to it. Yeah, it could well be something like that. I don't think it's a standard GPO thing from what I can see. I just get a gut feeling it's not. What as it says, the red and topaz 746Ls have recently been spruced up with the addition of watch receivers. I'll get some pics on the forum. Excellent. Very good. Right. Cool. Where did you get the little hooky thing from to hang the watch receivers on, Wesley? Because that's the bit that's always missing. You buy the watch receiver, but they've never got the little hooky thing that fits on the phone to hook them onto. That's the problem that I've had with watch receivers. Christmas said, I've got two grey 746Ls, one complete one, one red 746L and one black 746L. 746Ls with the lettered bezels on. Interesting. Gambo says, I check Fleabay all the time and I seem to miss something. He said I didn't see this wall set at all. I didn't see it either, but then I've not checked eBay recently, because when I check eBay I buy things, so I try not to check eBay. Dominic says, another phone I'd love to get is a 712, but I've only seen a few about 4 years ago. What is a 71? 712. Is that a trim phone? An early trim phone, the 712. Where it says the watch receivers came with the phones and were in extremely good condition. Where it says I've got a couple of 712s, but they need work. Yeah, don't they always? Don't they always? Yeah. Right. Let's have a look. I'm just looking what the difference is between a 712 and a 722. I think it's the plastic screw, isn't it? And also the fact they have an alphanumeric finger plate on the dial as well. Yeah, 712s don't turn up very often. For the uninitiated, the 712 is the early trim phone, and they do not turn up very often at all. They are a rare thing to find. They don't turn up very frequently at all. Dominic says he thinks the blue trim phone could be quite fetching as a 712. Yeah, it could be. I don't think there's much visually difference about them. I think the plastic screw that goes through the top on a 722 to hold the case on, I think that is the difference. I don't think you've got that on a 712. But yeah. Yeah, trim phones, they all seem to be 722s when I get them. All of them. And by the way, yes, I am still mending trim phone handsets as well. Still doing it. But yeah, I've not got a trim phone 712. As far as I'm aware, I've got a number of trim phones, but I don't think any of them are 712s. Not even refurbished 712s. Yeah, don't think they are. But I wonder what they did to refurbish them. I wonder if a 712 being refurbished did become a 722. I wonder if that's why they're so incredibly rare. Because they do seem to be rare. Dominic said the big easy to spot the difference between a 722 and a 712 is that on a 712 there's a screw on the front of the handset. Yeah, that's true as well, isn't it? What it says, there are two types which isn't well documented. There is the more common version with a plastic screw through the back, but there are another type where the earpiece is held in place with a sprung steel bracket. Right, that's interesting. Whereas it says there's no crossover parts with the 722 other than the mic and receiver. That must have been a bit of a git when they were trying to repair them then. Dominic says he thinks the 712s were rare as they were effectively just field trial phones, and also quite expensive to have in the 60s. They were, because you had to pay a premium to rent a trim phone rather than rent an ordinary phone. So yeah, all sorts of weird and wonderful things, all sorts of weird and stuff in the world of old telephones. Right, I'm going to divert you for a moment now away from telephones, because if, like me and like the rest of the world, you use one of these things to send text messages and stuff these days, what would you do if I said you can now send text messages without the aid of a phone, without the aid of a network even? Well, you can. If any of you watch on YouTube either Andy Kirby or Ringway Manchester, you will know that in the last couple of weeks or so, they've been experimenting with a little box of tricks that is a thing called Meshtastic. Now, what Meshtastic is, it's a little circuit board that goes in a case like this. This is the case for one. It's not got the circuit board in it at the minute because the circuit boards haven't arrived in time for this week, but hopefully they'll be here for next week. They are allegedly turning up tomorrow. But you put this little circuit board thing in here, stick a battery in it or a USB-C connector, and with a bit of jiggery pokery, you then couple this by Bluetooth to your mobile phone, get an app on your mobile phone called Meshtastic, the Meshtastic app, and then you can turn off all the data on your mobile phone. You can turn off the network on your mobile phone, you can turn off the Wi-Fi, turn off the calling, turn off everything except Bluetooth, and you can still send messages to people out on this. It's a kind of cross between phone and ham radio. It's called Meshtastic because these little things all mesh together. They all talk to each other and all send each other the messages that are going through them. So if you have one of these, not only are you transmitting and receiving your own messages, you are also acting possibly as a relay for somebody else sending messages, because if there's somebody over here who wants to send a message to somebody over here, it'll go from them to you and then on to them, and vice versa. It's a mesh, hence the name, Meshtastic. Now, as I say, the little boards, the little circuit boards, the little £20 circuit boards that go inside these things haven't arrived. Hopefully they will be here tomorrow, hopefully, so they'll be in time for next week's show. But I will let you know how I get on with it. One thing that I have been told is these little antennas that I've put on this in readiness, because I was told get an external antenna because the ones that come with them aren't very good. These ones might not be very good either, so I've got bigger and better antennas coming as well. But the cases, these cases, I 3D printed these. I'm quite impressed with these. These 3D printed cases. If I can get one up here and show you. Yeah. Right, get that in focus. It's a two-part piece. I found it on was it on Thingiverse, this case, or was it on one of the other 3D printing sites? But yeah, I found this case, and it's in two parts, and it just clips together, dink like that, and there you have it. And when I get the little circuit board, there's a little screen on it that goes in that window there. So yeah, it's cool, isn't it? And this is two little buttons. That's like a menu button and a reset button on it. So that is the 3D printed case that I printed out on the Creality Ender 3 printer here. But that is the case for Meshtastic. So you will be able to see more about that on here next week. So watch out for that. And we're going to be joining the mesh, as as they say. So that's the rabbit hole I've been down this week, and I've been learning all about it, because the thing is, these antennas, some antennas are better than others, and I've been learning. Now, anybody who's into ham radio would already know all this, but I'm not, and so didn't. But antennas have to be tuned to the frequencies that you're working with, and some antennas are tuned better than other antennas. So I've got a little device coming that tells you how well your antennas are tuned, a little sort of test device. So we're going to stick one of these antennas on it when it comes and see how good they actually are. I've got a horrible feeling they might not be very good, but it's an absolute craze. This Meshtastic thing is a mega craze that is sweeping the UK at the minute. The boards that go in these, the little circuit board things, are like sold out everywhere, because one or two big YouTubers have done videos about them, and of course everything's sold out. It's what they call the tech moan effect. so they've all gone and sold out at the minute. So they're a bit hard to get. You want one that works on 868 megahertz. Don't get one that works on 400 and something. Don't get one that works on 900 and something. You want one that works on 868 megahertz. These boards. So just watch out for that if you're buying the boards. Right, I'm just catching up in the chat. Going back to the trim phones, Wesley says the 712 trim phones are much more substantial than the 722s. They don't dance across the table when you dial. Wesley says, is Andy Kirby the guy with the Renault Twizy? Yes, that's him. Comes from Hertfordshire somewhere, Wesley. Yeah, that's the guy. He's got a black Twizy. I first found him when I was looking at buying a Renault Twizy, because I very nearly bought a Renault Twizy at one point. Kind of wish I had now. But I went for a more practical electric car, only to find electric cars aren't really practical at all anyway, so I might as well have had one that was fun. So yeah, kind of wish I'd had a Twizy. Dominic says those radio things at Meshtastic could be useful for emergency use, possibly. Yeah, that's kind of what people are saying about them. Yeah, they're kind of saying that they're going to be preppers and people like that are buying them. And yeah, I mean, if all the networks and that go down, the beauty is you can make these things solar powered by putting like a rechargeable battery on the back. So yeah, they are very much off grid, totally off grid. Dominic said, do you still have the Twizy, Andy? No, I only had a test drive in a Twizy. I never bought one in the end. I bought a thing called a Peugeot Ion in the end, which is a much more kind of sensible car. It's a little electric car, and I kind of wish I'd bought the Twizy, because the Twizys have got a cult following now, and you can get replacement battery packs for Twizys, which you can't get for Peugeot Ions without spending an absolute ridiculous amount of money. And the problem is that with the Ion, you really do need new batteries at 10 years. Mine does a lot less mileage now, a lot less range on a charge than it had got 18 months ago when I got it, because the batteries have had it. Miette says, it's SWR tuning. I passed my ham radio test many years ago. Yeah, that's exactly it, Miette. That's what you have to do with these antennas, and we'll be having a look at it next week. So You might stir some memories next week of your test all those years ago. Dominic says, oh, it was a different electric car, was it? Yeah, the one. Yeah, you've ridden it, haven't you, Dominic? Because I picked you up from the station one day, or took you back to the station or something. Yeah, that's the Peugeot Ion. That's not a Twizy. A Twizy is a much more fun thing, but not very practical. Because apart from anything else, doors are an optional extra on a Twizy. A Twizy is kind of more like a four-wheeled motorbike with a top on. That's the best way of describing a Twizy. Great fun to drive. I drove one on a test drive around Nottingham in the rush hour, and it was great fun to drive, but really not very practical as a daily driver car. But as a little thing to sort of have in the garage and just take out when the weather's nice, really fun thing. Really fun thing. Well, it says, is there not some issue with them where the batteries are leased? Some were leased, some are not leased. To be honest, it's better to have batteries that are leased, because then when your batteries go knackered, you can take them back, and you can get them swapped. If you buy your batteries, you've got a very expensive bill. There are people buying brand new electric cars now who are needing new battery packs and finding the battery packs are 3 times the price of the car. I kid you not. 3 times the price of the complete car to buy the battery pack. It's an absolute scam, because the thing is, with the electric technology, the batteries will die after about 10 years. So, what car manufacturers have found is what they've been looking for years and years and years. They've been looking for a way to make your very expensive car die after 10 years and make you buy a brand new one and get rid of the second-hand car market. And that is what they probably are going to be able to achieve with electric cars. It's one of the things they don't tell you about electric cars. It will be a dark day in hell before I have another one, I'll tell you. Dominic says that the Twizy is kind of like the Citroen Ami. It must be terrifying on an A road. Yeah, the Twizy wasn't terrifying at all. I mean, like I say, I drove it through Nottingham in the rush hour, and it was fine. It was great. I very much enjoyed it. Christopher says ham radios are good for emergency use. So if the mobile phone system going down in Australia, I will use my ham radio, because I carry my ham radio all the time when I'm train spotting to listen to the trains. Dominic says, no wonder car manufacturers are so on board with batteries. Yeah, it's a scam. It's a scam to stop second-hand cars, because the one that I bought, the Peugeot Ion, when I bought it, it was just a tad over £7,000, and it was about 9 years old. These batteries seem to magically die at 10 years. I've noticed a lot of battery degradation over the 18 months that I've had it. I typed it into motorway.com, you know, the car buying people. I typed its registration into that the other day. Now, I know they don't give you top money for your car, but it gives you some idea. That car that I bought for £7,000 18 months ago is valued on there at about 2. So there you go. Because people are realising that electric cars that are 10 years old have no value, because to replace the batteries, which you would need to do, would be more expensive than buying a new car. So there's the scam. You see, what electric cars should have is just, they should have a standard battery pack. They should have been forced, the government should have forced the car manufacturers to have a standard battery pack that the owner can easily plug in and unplug and change. You know, they should have made that a thing as easy as filling your car with petrol, or as easy as changing your normal 12-volt battery on a normal car. But of course they didn't do that, and that's why it's a scam, because now they can charge you whatever they want to charge you for the batteries. So it's a proper scam, electric cars, a proper scam. And I bought one and found out. I do mean to do a video about it. If I had the time to make a fully well produced video, I could do a very good video about the realities of owning an electric car, because it would shock and surprise a lot of people. A lot of people. It is no cheaper to have an electric car than it is to have a diesel car. In fact, if you do a lot of mileage, it's cheaper to have a petrol or diesel car than it is to have an electric car. Cheaper insurance for petrol and diesel, and it is certainly cheaper for petrol and diesel on fuel as well. Believe it or believe it not, it is. Miguel says, I'm keeping to my petrol. No way having an electric car which could explode. Well, that's another thing about them, Miguel. I mean, how do you keep an eye on the batteries? You know like your smartphone or something. They say if your battery swells up, don't use the phone, get rid of the battery, get a new battery and that. How do you keep a check on the batteries in your electric car? You can't even see them. Wesley says, in the car manufacturer's defence, encouraging Joe Public to replace a battery pack is probably not the best idea. The potential energy stored could cause significant damage. Well, a car can cause significant damage, and we still let people drive cars, don't we? So if you don't want the public to do anything that can cause damage, don't give them a car in the first place of any kind. But no, I think people should be encouraged to do stuff for themselves. People should be taught to do stuff for themselves. People should be much more practical than they are. I mean, I see people who can't even change a tyre, which is just bizarre. I find it totally bizarre. There are people driving cars who cannot change a wheel. You know, it's just mad. Christopher says, my mum carries a ham radio and I carry a ham radio for emergency use. So I've sent a photo to show it. I can't look at it at the minute, Christopher, because I've not got the email running on this machine. But yeah, so yeah, that is the story of electric cars. And oh dear, yeah, just don't don't go there. Don't. There are other things cars can run on, like wood chip, or gas, or coffee grounds, the waste from like Starbucks and stuff like that. Cars can run on all of these things, and it has been done. The car that ran on coffee grinds was a big old VW. I think it was a VW Scirocco or something. A few years ago on TV, there was a program called Bang Goes the Theory, and one of the guys on that program who presented was a fellow called Jem Stansfield, who was a maker and special effects engineer, and he converted this car and went, I think he went Land's End to John O'Groats or something in this car that ran on coffee grounds. The way it worked, it did it with gasification. It basically burnt the coffee. It basically cooked the coffee grounds, you know, the spent coffee. They basically cooked it in a device in the car, and the gas that was given off by it is combustible, and that's what it burnt in the engine. Similar to the coke gasifiers that were often towed behind vehicles in World War II. But yeah, I wonder if I can find a picture of Jem Stansfield's electric car. Let me have a look, see if I can find a picture. Yes, I can. And indeed I have. Let's have a little look. Yeah, I found a photo of him. He went from London to Manchester, or Manchester to London. In it, I think he went London to Manchester. Is it a Scirocco or a Golf or something like that? I don't know. I'm not very good at my cars. But of course, he didn't paint any of the bits he added on, so they all went a bit rusty and it all looked a bit Mad Max, which I think he did purposely, knowing Jem Stansfield. But if I can get the photo up, hang on a sec. There you go, there's Jem Stansfield in his car powered by coffee grounds, and it did work, and it was part of Bang Goes the Theory. I don't know if there's any videos of it on YouTube or anything, but it did work. It did stop occasionally. I think he wasn't getting enough coffee through to the engine, because the thing that you can see that goes over the roof, that is the thing that takes the gas down and into the engine, I believe. And on the roof there is a cooler to cool the gas down. It's basically like a radiator on the roof with lots of like fins in it. But yeah, I wonder what happened to that car. That ought to be in a museum or something somewhere. But yeah, they did it. It worked. That's something the oil companies don't want you to know about, isn't it? Oh, very much so. Right. So yeah, that's the Bang Goes the Theory coffee car. Right. What are we doing here now? Right. I'm just looking at the chat again. Dominic says coffee seems to be very useful. It seems that you can also make photographic developer with it and vitamin C. I think I've heard about the photographic developer made from coffee. I think I've heard about that somewhere along the line in the dim and distant past. Wesley says they're already manufacturing drop-in fuels from waste.
So they're only manufacturing drop-in fuels from waste.
Trouble is the energy required and scaling it up. Gambo says, on Blue Peter there was a Capri that was converted to run on coke coal during the 1970s. Yeah, it's exactly the same principle, except that was running on coal. This one is running on something else. Hang on, who's ringing me? Right, get rid of that. The coke car, the ones that run on coke are exactly the same principle as running on coffee. You cook the coal and turn it into coke, like you cook the coffee grounds and turn it into charcoal. Wesley says, JCB have done some interesting stuff with hydrogen combustion, with minimal mods to a standard engine. Yeah, the trouble with hydrogen is you don't get much bang for your buck. First Bus tried it with some buses a good long while ago. They had a brand new fleet of hydrogen buses and they were extremely underpowered, and because they were fully automatic, one of the problems that they had with these buses was when they were going in reverse, they hadn't actually got enough power to move. Wesley says, that car looks like a lovely Scirocco, or was before the modification was done. Yeah, I think it was a Scirocco, Wesley. But at the time that was done, there were a lot of them about. You know, a really Scirocco at the time was like 250, 500 quid car at the time. So there were a lot of them about. It's quite a few years ago now. Well, you can tell from that that was outside Television Centre, and Television Centre's been shut for years and years and years now. Yeah, but that was Jem Stansfield and Bang Goes the Theory. It was a really good show, that. They ought to put that back on. I don't know if there's any videos or anything on YouTube of that, but it was a kind of popular science type show, and it was very, very interesting. We need more shows like that. Let's have less soap operas and more of Bang Goes the Theory. Yeah. There you go, rant over. Right, okie dokie. Yeah, what else have I got to tell you today? Oh yeah, I've got another rant today. Don't buy Hoover belts off eBay. They don't work. I bought 2 Hoover belts. Now, you may or may not know this, but I have got a vintage Hoover here. I've got a Hoover 119. If you want to know what a Hoover 119 is, it's the Hoover that Freddie Mercury used in that famous video where he's doing the hoovering. It's one of those. Well, I still use one. It's a really good vacuum cleaner, way better than a modern vacuum cleaner, but it needed a new rubber belt on it. So I bought 2 off eBay. And you know something? These 2 belts both broke within less than 5 minutes of use. And they're just not rubbery enough. Now you're thinking, why are those belts not broke now? Well, the reason they're not broke just at this moment, and I'm sure they will as soon as I put them back on the Hoover, is, do you remember when super glue first came out? There was an advert for super glue where this guy, this athlete guy, was on the parallel bars, and he got a long rubber belt and they cut it. Then they super glued it back together and they put it across the ends of the parallel bars like that, and this athlete guy sort of sat on it in the middle and it held his weight. Can you remember him doing that? So I thought, can you really super glue rubber together that effectively? So I super glued these belts back together, and I must admit, it does seem to have worked. But you look at these belts up really close, and there are other bits where it's breaking though. The second plate, can you see that there? Where it's breaking. in half, and a third place where it's breaking in half. So they really are poor quality, these bells. Really poor quality. Now what I'm going to do is put some super glue in there. But this is amazing. I didn't think super glue was that good. But but it really does work on rubber. So I am going to try putting this back on the Hoover and see if I can make it work. So when your Hoover belt breaks, super glue. And it is proper super glue, it's not like at the pound shop, it is Loctite that I've been using, but there you go. That's what it is. Loctite super glue. Yeah, it does seem to work. I'm gobsmacked by it. Super glue is certainly better than the original rubber belts were. So yeah. Yeah, gobsmacked by that. Absolutely gobsmacked by it. Wesley says, I can remember in the adverts them solviting a pair of overalls to a board and dangling from a helicopter. Yeah, they did that as well, didn't they? Solvite wallpaper paste. They pasted this pair of overalls to like a sheet of plywood. Let it dry, then a bloke got into the overalls and they suspended the board from a helicopter and flew it over somewhere with the guy hanging off in the overalls. Yeah, I've got a feeling they didn't do that for real. There must have been some safety wires or something involved in that, I think. Yeah, although it was the 1970s, so maybe they did. They didn't have health and safety like they do now, did they? Wesley says, you can get universal O-ring kits that you cut the ends square and glue them together. Can you? That's interesting. Gosh, it's fascinating how well that's glued together. Dominic says, to share a rare positive story on eBay, the guy who sold my 1960 706L, think he was called Busby, really, did a really good job with the packing and even wrapped the handset separately. I was worried when the Diacon case would arrive smashed, but not even a hint of a crack. Excellent. I think that Busby, I think I've had stuff from him actually. Yeah, Gambo says, that's where my tube went. Your tube of what, Gambo? Solvite wallpaper paste. Did you wallpaper some overalls to a sheet of plywood? Christopher says, my ham radio is a rechargeable battery, but as a special battery converter, so it will work on AA batteries. It's good for emergencies when you can't get a rechargeable battery. Gambo says, I'm sure I've bought off a Busby myself. Yeah, I think Busby is a major eBay seller, let's say. Yeah, it sounds familiar, and not just because it was a yellow. What was Busby? You know Busby, the yellow bird that used to be on the adverts for well, it was the post office back then, wasn't it? And then did he survive into the telecom era? What sort of bird was Busby? Because he was yellow. I kind of always thought it was a chicken, but it wasn't shaped anything like a chicken, and chickens aren't yellow. The only bird I know that is generally yellow is a canary, and we don't get canaries sitting on telephone wires in this country. What sort of bird was Busby supposed to be? Worsley says he wasn't a real bird, Andy. Dominic thinks he was a canary. It must have been supposed to be some sort of bird, though. When every bird that sits on your telephone wires is brown, when the GPO came to have a character that was a bird that sat on wires, why wasn't it brown? What did he say? Sorry to break it, your lies, but he wasn't a real bird. No, I found out a few years ago, Wesley. I was shocked. I'm still reeling from the revelation. But yeah, Budsby, it was not a real. But why does that go a different colour when I move? Why does the back wall change colour? It goes yellowy. You go yellowy, and then it goes back to being sort of pale greeny colour again. Yeah, right. Anyway, I think we've probably almost gone as far as we can for today, given that me meshtastic things haven't actually turned up yet. Oh, one thing has arrived in the post this week. I bought this. It's nothing special. I bought this. It's just a base. That's all it is. It's a 746F base from 1980, made by EET, the code on the back. But I bought it quite cheap because I've got loads of cases, haven't I, that have got no bases and no insides or anything. So I thought if I buy just a base on its own, I could make up an unfrozen phone. And because I don't feel the need to restore it, because you can't restore it when it's just this, because you don't know what bits it had on it, what colour bits it had on it or anything, I thought we could make something really unusual out of it, like a really strange variant. Now, you know, you get the wall hanging 706s. Well, there was also a wall hanging version of a 746, and somewhere I've got some brackets to make a wall hanging 746. So what I am thinking I might do, I might make a wall hanging 746, but what colour should I do it in? And I believe I may have got enough bits to make a red one. Going back to the thing about the red the red wall phone that we were on about last week. So I'm thinking we're going to make an unfrozen phone out of this, out of bits that are hanging around, and we'll see what we can do. So stay tuned for the adventure of building this up out of bits. But that really is all that's arrived this week. Yeah, nothing else has come. Gambo says Busby was Big Bird's wee brother. Actually, there is a bit of a family resemblance there, isn't there? Yeah, there is. Dominic says Busby was Bernard Cribbins. Oh. Right, it's time to stop now, isn't it? Bernard Cribbins. Yes. Right. Wesley also says Plessy. Is that who EET were? Or EET Plessy? I think they were actually, weren't they? Chris says, I can show you Mark 1746 phone in background, Andy. Mark 1746 in background. Oh! Can you how the hell can you see that? Oh, you can see that, yes. Yes, it is. It is a Mark 1746. To be honest, it's grey and I forgot it was here, because grey things aren't very interesting, are they? But yes, what was the story behind this? I can't remember. Yes, I think this was a fairly recent arrival that arrived without much fanfare. It's a 1968 one, but it only says 746. It doesn't say L or F after it. Now, the 746s started in 1967, I believe, and from the get-go, some of them did not have the alphanumeric surround on. Some of them did. For a long time people told me no 746s had the alphanumeric surround, but some of the early ones did. This one hasn't got one. In fact, it's got the later style of plastic locking in surround rather than the earlier ones that had the surround with the metal thing on the inside to lock them on. This has not got the metal thing on the inside, I don't think. You can tell if you look carefully, because you can see where the little clip thing comes through. I don't think this one has. So it's either had a new surround fitted or it was like that from the beginning. If it was like that in 1968, it's an early one to have the one-piece plastic surround. But yes, this arrived, as I say, with not much fanfare. I don't even think I've had this one apart yet. It's got an old-fashioned sort of dial label in it, but I don't think that's right. So it may be a bit of a bit set. It's certainly not got the right screw in the back, because it's got like a Phillips headed screw in the back there, look, instead of one with a straight head on it. Yeah, not entirely sure about this, but one thing about it is I'm suspecting part of that handset might be Diacon. Not the caps, but look at the other bit. Look how undarkened the other bit is. So I am suspecting that might be Diacon, but I'm not certain. So we'll have to investigate that one at some point. Yeah. Gambo says red. Miguel says catch you all next week. Dominic says I quite like the grey phones when they have an alphanumeric bezel. Yeah, it makes them better, doesn't it? I just see so many of them. So many grey ones, it's unbelievable. Wesley says I've got 746s which aren't marked L or F, but they do have alphanumeric surrounds on. But did they have them on originally, Wesley? Can you be sure somebody's not just put them on there? Or do you know the history of the phones so you know that somebody's not put them on there? Have you had them a long time or something? Gambo says I still need to figure out how to rewire the handset cord to the block, as it's been removed on my Ivory ITI. I did send pics. Handset cord to the block. Oh yes, the Indian phone. Somewhere, Gambo, I have got. In fact, it may even be here. Somewhere, I have got a wiring diagram for one of those. Bear with me. Just talk amongst yourselves a moment. Normal service will be resumed later. Not in that pile. Sure, God. somewhere. I'm sure I've got it. Did I leave it with a phone or even put it inside a phone so we knew how to do it next time? Because I did have a bit of paper with it written on. Leave it with me, Gambo. Leave it with me and remind me next time. Because I should have that somewhere, I'm sure. I should have it somewhere, I'm sure I should have it somewhere, that. Yeah, leave it with me and we'll figure it out for next time, that one. Right, that is as far as we go, I think, for today. Yeah, we will see you here again next week when hopefully me meshtastic things will have turned up, and we may even be on the mesh by then. Look into it. They're about 20 quid, these little module things, and you can 3D print a case for them. I may even put a web page up on the website about it all, so you've got all the information there. If I get 5 minutes, I'll try and stick a web page up about it all. But from me, for now, I'm going to go and do a bit of Freddie Mercury style hoovering. I will see you all on the flip side next week. Yeah, from me. Oh, Dominic says he thinks 1969 was the first year plain dial bezels started to be issued. I thought they were being issued from 1967. It was all to do as to whether your area had gone all figure dialing or not. If your area had gone all figure dialing, you got a plain bezel. If it hadn't, you didn't. But yeah, so I don't quite know exactly what years it was. Right, anyway, as I say, we're going to disappear now. I will see you all next week. Have a fantastic week ahead, everyone, and yeah, we'll see you somewhere on the mesh. Ta-ra for now. And remember, if you want to carry on the conversation, go to gpotelephones.proboards.com. And if you like what you see here and you want to join us on Patreon and support the show, it's patreon.com/AndyShed. See you next time.